Well, good morning. It's Friday, more or less 10. A little late today. Sorry about that. Needed to do some consults on the colors for this. I believe will be a fire mage. Okay. And minor technical difficulty has been resolved, and I now have a large chat screen again. The other one had disappeared for a few days, and now it's back. So there was a little bit of a technical issue with that. But that's been resolved, and here we are, once again, doing relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 more or less until 2 more or less. As usual, it seems to be now part of the show, almost, is that the day of relaxing painting is also the day of a winter storm. Yay! So we've got another one floating through the country. It's going to be hitting us this afternoon with anywhere from 1 to 8 inches of snow. I know some other folks are having a terrible time. There was another spawn of tornadoes. So it's like every other day, it seems like there's a major storm crossing the country, bringing really dangerous weather in the southern half of the country and ice and snow in the north. So I can say relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons and Winter Storm. What I'm going to be doing today is continuing to work on this set of minifigs that was rosin printed a little more than a week ago. Two flips. Let's see, I usually do 3 flips for a flip, so you got 6 flips coming. Sure, why not? As soon as I clear some space here. So we printed these minifigs on the rosin printer, and there's more on the way, but I'll just go over what I've done this last week. Started out with some cultists. I like the way the robes came out. You know, that gray with the dark wash on it. Really, that turned out pretty nice. So they're sitting there being culty. Put those aside. Started with the easier, simpler ones, and then I moved on to these warriors. Metal armor, matching blue capes. So these are kind of like, so far they've been twins. But then these came along and they were not at all alike. So they got very colorful and fancy. And I thought when I started these that the color combinations would be kind of garish and all, but I have to say that although they're bright, they aren't hideous, which was a little surprise to me. I was kind of surprised at that, but there they are. They came out okay. I'm not sure what they are. Druids, maybe. Maybe they're performers. You know, they might be bards, right? That could be bards, bardic. She's going singing. He's gesturing. I don't know. Who can tell? We'll find out if they show up in the stream. And then these guys who are much more subdued in their color are more rangerish, kind of leather armor with green tones. So I finished this one on Wednesday. And I'm going to finish this one today before the break, using basically the same color combinations. You know, the leather, the light green. The tunic here is going to be painted the same color as the cloak here. And then I'm going to use this dark brown color that's on the shoes and the belt, since I decided that belts and shoes needed to match. This person's boots and belts, there's a belt there and a bandolier kind of thing, will be painted that darkish brown. The scabbard will be painted the same green as this, but it won't be washed, so it will look the same with the same metallic highlight. Okay. And then there's a couple of pouches, and you might as well use that same color. We'll just keep the color theme going through the whole bit. That was flat earth. And then the base gets painted a brown color. And then after I'm done with that, I'm going to take on this one. And this is holding flames, right? Let's see that. So this is going to be a fire mage, and I promised that I would get fiery colors. So I'm going to pick like some oranges and yellows and reds, maybe some brass highlights, you know, kind of keeping that theme going along. Red hair with a little bit of maybe gray wash on it, just to try to highlight some of the shadows in the hair. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, yeah, little book with some little writing on it and a flame saying this is how you make a flame in your hand. And I was suggested that the flame itself is actually going to be blue tones. So this is a fire mage producing a blue flame fireball, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. These usually turn out, I don't know why. You know, throw colors on, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, it's painted, so I guess it's done. Anyway, over break, or maybe during the show, I'm not sure. We'll see how the timing works. I'll be rummaging through our paint storage unit and finding red paint for the fire mage's clothes. But we'll do this one first and finish up this set of ranger-ish, kind of ninja-ish characters. I'm going to paint the belts and boots first with the brown, and then I'm going to do the pouches, and then I'm going to do the tunic and the scabbard, and then do the buckles, then the metal. Anyway, yeah, just kind of going back and forth and trying to get the colors right. So we'll see how that goes. But first we have a double flip because it's late. Because I was late, I have to pay a penalty apparently. By doing 2 flips, and each flip is 3 flips, so there's 6 flips that you're going to get. That should use up a good deal of time here. What can I flip? I'll flip some tweezers. I haven't flipped tweezers yet. Okay, that's the completion of one of the 2 flips. It was a Revlon tweezer. This is actually, this is pretty antique. It's been around a good long time. Yeah, next 1, 2. This is pretty good. It stays in place when it lands. 3. Okay, got the flips out of the way. We're going to stir up some flat brown paint and paint boots and belts. Yeah, I'll take my glasses off so I can let my eyes adjust to seeing things up close. Nothing on screen. This is what's getting painted. Yeah, so just looking at where the colors touch each other. How well defined this thing is. Yeah. It's not It's not awful. We'll just use the little brush on this. Slightly larger brush down on the boots. I was told yesterday that after the stream, and old blog posted a link for me, I'm actually going to get magnifying goggles, and then we'll give those a try. Come on, is there skin on the paint here? Paint is not adhering to the brush the way it should. Yeah, so I might be getting magnifying goggles, which means that I should be able to see this kind of thing that I'm doing here. Better seeing. Okay, well, this paint, weird. I'm not sure quite what's happening with it. It's not adhering to the tip of the brush the way it should. It's like climbing up onto it. It's bubbling up at the tops of the bristles, but not at the tips of the bristles. I haven't had that happen before, but there it is now. I have to be careful along the top there because it comes in contact with another color. Here it's less critical. And I want to make sure it gets down into along the edges of the strap, the shoulder strap, because it's raised up pretty high. I'm going to paint over the buckle and then come back with the gunmetal color that I'm going to use for the things on the scabbard. Little metal highlights there I'm also going to use for the buckles. But not feeling the need to have more colors than necessary. This is one of those little bits. Rotating it in different directions is necessary to see where it is. The edge of it. You need to get just a little bit of paint because it's the raised edge there. I need to get paint onto it and then push the paint down. Might need to put like a little thinner in this paint or something. It's just do is in the paint a little bit because it just seems to have picked up a viscosity that is not helpful. paint doesn't flow. That side, okay. Just being quiet here as I try to get the light. So from this angle, the belt is really clear, but I can't get the brush to it. So if I do this and I can get the brush to it, then the edges of the belt are not clear. And so you get old man grumping about the thingy he's painting again. We'll just, since I'm painting green up to it from the other direction, fix that, assuming I can see the edges after the paint dries. Okay, I'm just going to rotate this and make sure I got it all. Looks like it wasn't quite painted under the arm. And the edges aren't perfect, but that will get fixed when I paint the other green color on it. This is the one that I need to be most cautious about in that. That one seems to be okay. Say it needs to go down a little bit further. Okay, we'll do that. And I'll use a different brush for the boots. Those are a much bigger surface, and there's the interface of the colors is pretty easy. Just need to paint up to the bottoms of the pants here. Paint is much better on this brush. Oh yeah, today I should complain about the weather again. But again, it's like I can complain about maybe we're going to get somewhere between 1 and 8 inches of snow. They're not really sure. See, the track of the storm, this particular storm, at least on a northern edge, is its moisture-laden warmer air bumping into colder air, and so it's really hard to predict where the rain-snow boundary is going to end up and how far north the whole system is even going to push. Like it's It's already snowing this morning, light snow in Chicago, which is south of where we are, south and west. So they're going to get, definitely going to get snow, but it's not clear how long it will last because they're on the like trailing edge of the storm that's moving through. So they might be getting a little bit of snow, but it might not amount to much of anything. Last I looked is that the snow line was just starting to form. That is, that the warmer air was just starting to hit the colder air south of us, south and west. It was starting in Chicago and creeping along the southern border of Michigan. There was a lot of rain behind it, so there's a lot of moisture in the system. So if it does push further north, you know, it doesn't just stall out, it pushes further north and carries that moisture with it, we will get quite a lot of snow with a lot of wind as well. As will most of southwest Michigan. And then the angle of the, it's so weird, all these little bristles are like shooting out on the sides. This brush had a nice point on it and it's just kind of coming apart on me here. So I'm going to do a little brush maintenance, I think. Just try to pull it together. So anyway, we're not really sure. We could end up getting a huge blizzard. We could end up just getting a light dusting of snow. We could get a pile of rain. That seems less likely. All of the forecasts are saying we're far enough north that we're just going to get snow. The predictions of rain disappeared. I was going to use the same color of gunmetal on the scabbard metal parts as the belt buckles. But that means painting the scabbard first, which means painting the tunic before I do the belt buckles. And I'm not sure. Yeah, well, I guess there's no law against using, pulling the color out and then doing it again later. There's no reason why that can't be done. I do want to use the flat earth, there it is, on the two pouches first. This is a lighter brown color, and just like with this one, when you put the wash on it, it brings out the little detail like the latch, the little closing strap on the pouch. So it looks pretty boring by itself, but with the umber wash on it looks good. Just like the leather color changes pretty dramatically with the wash. Oh yeah, let me do this. I've got this thinner here, and I've got an eyedropper. And I can take this paint that was causing a little bit of trouble. Doesn't need much, but once a bottle gets down like to the last third, it's been exposed to air, and so the solvent has kind of evaporated along the way, and their scientifically measured amount of thinner paint build up on the rim, but it Looks like it's sealing pretty well. See if this has the same issue at night. Really, I only need this little brush for where the bags meet the belt, but this one's not quite as bad as the other. Yeah, so this weather system is really giving the meteorologist fits. South of here, right in the center of it, they can pretty safely say you're just going to get a lot of rain and wind, because that's what it is. They're right in the middle of the swirling storm system. But along the edges of it, not knowing thousands of variables that impact the path of the storm, it's very hard for them to be able to predict accurately where the edge will be and how much precipitation of what kind there will be along the edge. The edge being the boundary between warmer, moisture-laden air and the colder, drier air that's creating the snow. And we are on that edge, not knowing how much we're going to get. Or even what kind. This guy has a crescent-shaped bag of something. It almost looked like a powder horn, but that's clearly not the case because they don't have any powder. Tiny spot there that's not leather colored that I might just take the trouble to fix. Hope this setup is okay for you. I raised the camera up higher. Maybe I'll move it down a little bit. If I move it up like that, it's more likely that I will be in the field of view of the camera, but then everything is tiny and far away. Nope. Gotta fix that. Getting to the point where it's dots, little dots of paint need to be put in different places. And I got a little bit of this lighter brown color on the darker brown, so I'll need to fix that. Let me finish covering this pouch. Checking the other one. That's good. As the brown paint dried, I'm able to see where the edges are, which is good. Now I'm going to fix that little bit that little dot of leather color. And I'm going to fix the little dot of the dark brown. And then I will go on to painting the buckles. Actually, I should wait to fix the brown until I do the buckles because, yeah, there's that. I'll get this leather brown. Yeah, the details are hard to see. You know why? Because they're small. And little things are harder to see than big things. Unless they're so big. Sometimes something could be so big that you say you really can't see it, because the truth is you can't see all of it unless you're far enough away from it. Okay, I managed to, looks like I rubbed off some of the paint back here. Yeah, is that better? You can see more detail here if I move the camera down. But then I just need to be more careful to make sure I'm on camera. So we're going to compromise here by moving the camera down so you can see things a little better, knowing that at times you might not see them at all. We'll just keep experimenting. I don't think I can move it down yet a little further. There. And then definitely need to bring this back for the back of the boot and this little spot that I put there. But now I'm going to pull out the gunmetal. Any dot of this. These bits that are so tiny that you squeeze out a drop, right? And end up with 10 times more paint than you actually need because yeah. Okay, well, the problem there is if the camera is focused on it, my eyes on it. We need to find the buckles. They're raised a little bit, so if I'm lucky, I'll be able to just touch the surface. The raised bit. A little bit of the gunmetal paint on it. We end up, if nothing else, the impression of and I would say that what you've got there is the impression of a buckle. And this is something I know that if I play with it a little bit too much, it will not look any better. But you can see that there's buckles there now. And they're not perfectly painted, but you know, if you can see that they're there, and that was the point. I'm going to do this, since this is the color that's going on the scabbard. I'm going to go ahead and paint it this color anyway, and then see what I can do when I put the green on to not paint over it. So we'll just get this detail done first. Wow, that paint just solidified there in a little well. The paint that probably should be thinned, which is really hard to do with the Viejos because they're in a squeeze bottle. So we'll see. We might be able to pull this off when I do the other color, the light green, which is going to go on the tunic and the scabbard. Yeah, so I'll get rid of this, and then I need just a couple little dots of this dark brown again. Vivian Lafleur, thank you for joining in. Itty bit right there where the pouch color intruded on the belt color. And I don't think I need to mess very much with these belts. The buckles. The buckles that'll do, as they say. Whatever that is adequate for the use these will get put to. So I've got two more base coat colors to put on. One is what's called sick green, but it actually is a really nice green color, which is going on the tunic and the scabbard. And that's kind of fiddly. There's all sorts of little bits of it that butt up to other colors. Okay, so I'll be dinking around with that, trying to get the boundaries right. And then I'm just using a silver color on the blade, and it'll go on the pommel as well. And then after that's done, I'm going to be using a umber wash on the leather and the pouches, and a green wash on the tunic and the face mask and bandana thing, and a little bit of dark gray wash on the blade, or black wash maybe. What did I think I used the dark gray last time. Just a little bit, tiny bit streaked on there, just to tone down what will be a very bright silver color. do all these little bits around the tunic and stuff first. So let's see, what should we talk about now? On Wednesday, I was talking about the Carrington event for some reason. Solar flares, electromagnetic pulses, induced currents. That brought home to us an ice storm that hit Monday. Fortunately, the ice here was, maybe it was rattling. It was rattling on Wednesday as well. Well, whatever I moved didn't fix it. It's getting filtered out, or you don't find it too annoying. Anyway, what really brought that home was the ice storm on Monday, which wasn't too bad here. We got, I don't know, 2/10 of an inch of ice, maybe. It was less than 1/4 of an inch, but more than, I think, than 1/10. It was more ice than I had originally thought. When the sun came out the next day and it started melting and falling off, which was actually a very pretty event. I mean, it really was. The ice sparkled in the branches and then came off in little chunks, like little crystals that fell down and were shiny in the sun and shattered on the driveway. Actually, it was really kind of pretty, but what I was blathering about, what I was wanted to say was that we didn't lose our electricity, which was really wonderful. Unlike some people on the east side of the state who had gone for the better part of a week after the previous ice storm, which missed us. Anyway, the internet went out. So, cable TV is gone, internet is gone. And it was a reminder of how sort of dangerously dependent we are on what is actually somewhat fragile infrastructure. So an ice storm comes through, and we don't know what disrupted it. It was out for more than 24 hours. But business could not be done, Couldn't edit any videos because they were stored in the cloud, right? And you can't get to the cloud if you don't have internet. Couldn't be entertained with TV. But yeah, it was just like so much was just dependent upon this one somewhat fragile utility. And then you combine that maybe with like a power outage. I think that's why I was talking about the Carrington event. It's just because of our amazing dependence on this stuff. Especially now that so much information is, as they say, stored in the cloud, which is a server hundreds, if not thousands of miles distant. And it's connected through the internet connection. You don't even have access. You don't have access to anything. Basically, as far as you're concerned, all of your information and the programs used to do anything with it are lost. They're just gone. It's something that happens periodically, but when it does, it just points to kind of I found it a little bit disturbing, the level of dependency we have on something like that. And in this case, it was just, trying to get a day's worth of work done. Yeah, so that was lost. You can begin to imagine how incredibly disruptive that would be. Like we might have had neighbors who really, they did work at home, right? All of their work was at home, and it might have been really important for them. They might have had very important things that they needed to get done, documents to edit, spreadsheets to manipulate, that kind of thing. And boom, nothing. It's gone. Don't have access to it, And it's one thing to say, well, I guess I get an extra weekend day, right? Because I can't get any work done. But to think that it actually might have been gone, in that if that connection to the cloud had lasted much longer, the access just would have been lost. For some reason, it's like right here. I don't know if the green went up a little too far. I'm going to say that that's what's happened. I'll put a little bit of brown back on there maybe later. I don't like the way that edge looks. So that reminded me of the Carrington event, and an ice storm is one thing, but a major electromagnetic pulse caused by a solar flare, well, that would be pretty scary. And as writers about the Carrington event very cheerfully pointed out, most people never noticed because nobody had electricity then. The electromagnetic pulse had no impact on their kerosene lamps. And then they always end up with, just imagine what it would be like today. Yeah, I was afraid of that. I started wandering off camera there. The downside of putting the camera closer yeah, of course, there's this tiny little narrow bit of the green tunic around here. I'm going to have to touch up. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this without getting some of it on the leather color underneath. So I'll just come back to that and touch it up later, because even with this tiny brush, maybe, I got it. I got a little too much on there, so just a little bit. Yeah, we'll see how it looks when it dries. If I move it here, there. Yeah, there's a similar issue under the arm here, but the upside is that you can't see under the arms, so a little bit of an issue there won't be a big issue. I'll bring the dark blue paint out, the dark brown paint out, and just do a little bit of boundary manipulation and this. Anyway, yeah. Continuing just to paint the detail here. Finishing up the tunic. And when finished with the tunic, I'm going to do some touch up with the dark brown because there's a couple of spots where that needs to be done. I'll rotate it and, take a look at all of the interfaces between the colors. Interface, yes. The lines between the colors, how those look. Every once in a while, as I'm doing this, I just say, I'm really surprised I can still keep doing this. The left hand was just shaking a little bit earlier as I was holding this. Sometimes it just depends on where is the tension, kind of, between the angle of the muscles and stuff. But for the most part, pretty successful at doing tiny little fine detail yet, and I'm pretty happy about that. Occasionally, very often, but occasionally I will get a hand cramp. That is... okay, well, guess we're going to use the leather color touch up as well. As I was trying to get this little bit under the tunic here, the edge of the brush caught that. So I will need to try to remember to touch that up. So what's happening here, right here on the scabbard, is that the scabbard is the same color, this green, as the tunic. But I'm not going to wash the scabbard. And so even though the colors right now are indistinguishable, here where that boundary is, you'll see the difference because the green wash does change the color a little bit. doing this primarily because I don't want the colors to match the other figure I did. And those are the colors I used for the scabbard. The unwashed sick green. I'm going to finish painting the tunic in the back here, which is the part that's not done yet. And then we'll do some touch-up with the dark brown and the leather brown. There isn't a lot, but there's just like this unevenness, like right there, that you can see on the strap. Not very much of it, but it's enough to be noticeable. And even though I don't need to sacrifice the good for the sake of the perfect, that particular spot really, it's pretty obvious. It shows on the back of the model really clearly, and so I want that to be even. On the other hand, it looks like there's a spot here. It needs to be a little more green, less brown. No, I guess it's just the brown part there. And then, there's areas in here where it's very silent while I'm doing this. Paint in between the two colors. Bottom of the belt there is not very well defined, so we'll see how that looks when I rotate it. Okay, so let's go around the top here first. Looks like the green just went a little too far there. So I'll try to remember to touch that up with the leather. And then there was a spot on the leg that got greened when it shouldn't have been, under here, under there. Okay, across the front of the tunic. And the belt buckles actually show fairly well, which is a pleasant surprise. Like the lower belt looks okay to me. Front of the upper strap looks okay. There's just this unevenness, like right here, that I need to touch up with the dark brown. Got a couple spots at the leather brown. Yeah, so see any spots that I obviously missed. So we'll let that say that that's good. That little dark brown area up on the strap, I did that earlier, so that should be dry by now. So I should be able to get this color out. Stir again, this is the one that I put some thinner in, so let's see if we can't mix that up. Yes, this is a show where they do the flip of follow. I did 2 flips, 2 sets of 3, because I was late. Maybe I'll do a flip just before break. I just do that. Okay. See if that thinner helped the texture of the paint, at least. You'll see. I have to say the answer to that is definitely yes. That was the right thing to do. So, I don't know if you can much see it, but there's the width of this strap right here. It's the tiniest little bit narrower, and it is above and below it. So I'm taking a dot of this dark brown paint and that's it. Okay, I mean that's pretty much just all that needed to happen. Yeah. Putting that little bit of thinner in the paint made a huge difference in its usability. Okay, it's a little bit bright because it's wet, but I'm satisfied with how that came out. Now there are a couple of spots with the leather brown. I have to order another one of these. I'm going to end up, it's really, the bristles are small. I don't know how expensive it was. Nikki bought this for me, but it's already starting to show wear. I'm probably doing something wrong in the way I'm cleaning it. Okay, let's mix this up again. A little dab. There are just a couple of spots. I'm going to get the one on the bottom of the leg first, because that's the one I'm most likely to not remember. Say the bottom of the leg, it's at the top of the leg, just where I bumped it with the brush when I had the green paint on it. So there's that. Sure that there aren't any uncovered spots. And then there were along the edge of the tunic here, where I was not entirely happy with the boundary. Let's look on the other side. No, I think that's okay. Okay, so the base coat is almost done. I just need to do the pommel and the blade of the sword. We're going to do that in this chainmail silver color. That rattling is really annoying. I have no idea where it's coming from. It's like I picked up every object in that direction, and none of them, when I picked it up, turned out to be the source of the problem. need to have an assistant. So I mix it, shake a paint over there, and have somebody else lift objects until the offending one is clear. So just the little pommel here. Things that you actually can see. Very minuscule. There. And then the blade of the sword. This sword is not original to the print. It's actually a toothpick. So the story was, if you'd been watching the stream, you probably actually saw me do this, is that there was a print flaw and the sword actually did not get printed. Made one out of a toothpick, which I've done before on another model. There was a dual wielder. One of the blades, it broke off. Not only broke off, it disappeared, so I couldn't find it to glue it back on. So I said, well, why not? I'll try it. And toothpicks are a nice soft wood, so they carve in sand really pretty easily. And so I was able to reconstruct that blade. I did a better job with that one than with this one. That one was much thinner. And it turned out to be indistinguishable from the second blade. I was pretty happy how that turned out. This is adequate. Okay. But it, at least there's a sword. I'm told that on the next batch, which is coming off of the rosin printer today, and will be primed over the weekend, and we'll see those on Monday as I continue the saga of painting difficult to identify what they're supposed to be minifigs. That there's another one that's missing a blade. So I'll get to fabricate another sword blade, and I'll probably do that on stream because why not? Do it on your time, not my time. Okay, so there's a toothpick. Yep, this guy is wielding his toothpick, literally, and looks, I have to say, it really does not look very threatening. Just not. So, their compatriot here also does not look very threatening. It's like, oh, I'm yelling and pointing. That's scary. Yeah, you're a very scary yeller and pointer there. You are. That, so we'll let that set for just a bit. And I end up actually using like 4 different colors of wash on this. I've got this dark green wash that I'll be using on the green stuff. All of the green stuff except for the scabbard. Okay, I'll be using a little brush for that because it's got little brush places that need to be done. I'm going to be using not using that one. Umber wash, wherever it went, on all the brown parts, the leather and the pouches. I'm going to be using the dark gray wash on the blade, and then later I'll be using brown wash on the base. see which colors are going to be done first. I think the browns are pretty well finished, so that's the wash that I don't have. Wonder where it went. The umber wash. I don't think I ever put it away. It's the dark brown wash for the base. Oh, there it is. Okay. Umber. So what should I mess up first? Should I mess up the green first or the brown first? Let's mess up the green first. These washes. Okay. It's another opportunity to identify the thing that's making all the rattling. That's the offending item. The clipper here, a little wire clipper. That was the thing that was vibrating. So, have that anymore. And drop of this. This other one was really pretty easy to wash. Okay, it was just a cape in the top. And there are hardly any boundaries that needed to be dealt with. This one is like all full of them. On the brush it across the grain because I wanted to get into the little folds in the fabric more than anything else, trying to keep it pretty even. You don't want there to be like stains and splotches. Okay, back here. And I don't know if you can really see it that well, but I'm not washing the scabbard. And so you can, I think, see that, you know, the part that is getting washed is darker and a little bit more olive colored. The scabbard is staying brighter. Same thing up here. Painting across the grain, so to speak, the grain being the folds in the fabric. It just helps bring out things like the folds, the shadowing kind of, and with the same color wash that we use in our sewer tiles, and against the gray base coat, it looks really slimy. You know, against the green, it just sort of darkens it and highlights the especially the back on the bandana thing here. this color to be toned down quite a bit. Catch the little swirls in the back here. Bit on the mask. Anyway, there's a lot of yellow in it, and maybe you can't see it that much when it goes up against the green, but when you put it against the gray in the sewer tiles, it looks like slime. It's very nice slimy color. Okay, so there, I think the tunic came out looking pretty good. Yeah, that wash did its job. I think a little bit more just on the back and thing here. Yeah, so there. I'm going to do the brown, and you'll see the same sort of thing happen with the leather. This will be a whole lot less orange and will look more leathery. Show the difference here. You can see the color difference between the two. And it'll help the pouch, especially this pouch, bring out the little latch detail. Use the umber for that. I need way less that I squeezed out of the green. There's lots of little bits with this, so it's like starting on one arm and then doing another arm and then doing a leg. We'll just go around and make that happen. The grain. Try to get it to, just to highlight the folds in the fabric, kind of. Leave any bright spots. The left arm. We'll do a right arm. Underarm. To get this pouch. Let it puddle up a little bit there because I wanted to show the latch. This thing is featureless, so just get some on there. Break up the dull monochronicity of the pouch. A little streaky maybe. And let's get the legs done here. I'm going to put some on the boots as well. It isn't going to show much on the boots. It isn't going to change the color, but it might just bring out a little bit of the wrinkling, some of the boots. Leg. A little bit dark, but you need have it a little dark. You might as well do it on the inside of the leg, right? Where it's supposed to be shaded or shadowed anyway, but we don't want a line here, so we'll feather that out. This side of the boot. And I'm just going to look around, make sure that there aren't any like bright spots where the wash needed to be, but there isn't any at all. That came out pretty well, especially on the pants. They're a little darker, and that's okay. See any real missed spots, so that's good. Just going to shake this up. I need like next to nothing. I put like one drop. Just not even squeeze it out, just take it out. Bottle cap here, tiniest little bit. And I just want to darken the blade of the sword a little bit. Okay, so this guy is now done except for the base. Now it's a two-step process. One is a base coat and then a little bit of a wash to give it a slightly mottled appearance, not very much. I've been using this red-brown for the base, so I will continue to use the same color. Base is consistent. It's a nice little pointy brush. Right there, yep. So I'm finishing this up. It looks like I'm gonna probably take my break like 15 minutes early. Just show you this. See this? Okay. Those are all the colors I pulled out for the models I was working on. Some of them I used and some back there I didn't. what I can say now is that they are in the way. Except for maybe like one or two of them, I'm not going to be using them on the Fire Mage. And unless you want me to watch me be off camera while I'm putting paints away and pulling new paints out, I know it sounds like a lot of fun, but unless you, hi, thanks for joining in. You're coming in just before the break. Yep, I got about 10 minutes to go. At which point I'm going to be putting paint away and bringing other colors out. Maybe, well, since you joined in. Oh, a big raid too. Thank you. Thanks for the raid. I really appreciate that. I'm going to welcome everybody to Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. What this is all about is painting and finishing up things like, I'll show you these. For those of you who haven't seen them before, we do all these wonderful dungeon tiles with magnets in the base. Okay, I'll show you how that works. There's these little holes. Ball magnets go in there, and then they attach to each other, and you can reconfigure them on the fly really very easily. This is something we've developed over the last year so that they're now really cool. And we print them on the 3D printers back here en masse lately. Prime them, base coat them, highlight them, and then wash them. This is what they end up looking like after they've been washed, a little bit darker and more foreboding and worn. Okay. And this all started because we did a Dungeons and Dragons campaign over a year or so ago, which is still ongoing. Sundays at 2 with a live chat available on YouTube and as a podcast. So if you can watch. If you can listen, that's much appreciated. Feel free to be a subscriber. Feel free to go to, I have to do a plug, right? Patreon.com/dice and dungeons. If you'd like to support what we're doing here. So we still have the Dungeons and Dragons campaign going on. It is an amazing campaign in a fantastic world created by our very own dungeon mistress, Alexis. But we started, wow. How did that happen? Okay. It's really, we're going to have to buy like a dozen of these. The whole thing just sort of cracked open. Weird. Yeah. So we started printing dungeon tiles as an experiment to liven up our game, and it just kept going and going, and now we're producing them en masse with pre-made sets. They're really pretty cool. The stone ones, we've got these wooden ones. We've got working doors. We have cauldrons. Flame on. Yeah, let me show you the wooden ones. We played around with all sorts of different colors and ended up finding this combination of base coat and wash that just gives the richest, most, yeah. We are going to, do we sell them? Yeah, the wood effect, I'm really just, the wash, just the base coat by itself is really dull, but then the wash that we use on it brings out the wood grain and it enriches it. And then we found this color, I don't know, I really like this in green, the stucco, but yeah. Anyway, it's kind of, I guess, my taste and not everybody's. So we're just going with this neutral. We are actually hoping to be able to sell these sets. We have some pre-made dungeons that, I shouldn't say pre-made, they're designed dungeons. There's a necromancy lair, there's a throne room, there's like a tavern, there's a warehouse, that kind of thing. Get this cute little thing like a trap door in the warehouse that will open. You can go down and get trapped under the trap door. And available either just primed. They definitely would be primed. Yeah, I know. Thank you. Yeah, we're looking forward to having them do well enough and look good enough and be complete enough that they would be available. I think you'll probably see maybe on social media eventually a post of all of the different sets that are available, and then there'd be like expansion sets as well that would be just, here's a whole bunch of walls that you can add to whatever you already have. So they would either be primed, which would of course be, faster and less expensive than things that are, these are definitely hand painted if you watched our stream. So thank you. And thanks for the raid. It's really appreciated. And we're looking forward to seeing more of you. Let me get these out of the way. Now I just made a huge mess by creating an absence of room. But yeah, the main bit is dungeon tiles, and the next sets that we're going to be doing are going to be sewer tiles. And I keep saying this, I really like the way the sewer tiles end up looking. They are just so gross, they just look like slime and dirt and mud. And we do a pretty decent job with them. There are many colors. So there's dark and dank down the center of the sewer, and then there's moss and slime growing up on the sides of it. And then as a finishing touch, we were able to use either realistic water or epoxy, clear epoxy, and put a little dribble of stuff, a little dribble of liquid down the center where you don't want to step. Actually, you don't want to step on any of it, but if you're playing DnD and you're in a sewer, you just have to. Thanks, Ryan, and everybody else who joined. The other thing that we do is, just streaming, painting all of the different dungeon tiles and the sets that come with it. Sometimes the little sets will pop up underneath me on the screen. It is doing minifigs. And this is number 8 of 9. Oh, this one is 7 of 9. Yep, I really said that. This one is 7 of 9 because this is now 8 of 9. This is 9 of 9. That makes this one 1. And after break, I'm going to be starting to paint the Fire Mage. But before break, I want to finish this one. And finishing this one involves painting the base, letting it dry a little bit, and then doing a quick wash on it. And then during break, I'm going to be putting all of these paints away. Here, so that, because I have to paint the rim. I'll be putting all these paints away and getting out a selection of oranges and reds and yellows, because being as they are a fire mage, they're going to be wearing fire themed colored clothes. however that turns out. There will be a great temptation to have way too many colors. So I'm going to pick out no more than 6, including, little bits for accessories, like these little pouches. Okay. Maybe even fewer than 6 if I find the right colors. And then I'm going to start putting colors on the Fire Mage. So one thing that I'm going to be experimenting with next week, remind people about that today, before and after break, and then also Monday, is that if you've been watching the stream or if you catch up on it, a couple of streams ago, I opened up some vintage Renwall cutaway Polaris launching submarine models. And that's one of those things that I had built when I was young. I had done like the original. And wanted to recreate it. Recreate my youth or something. Anyway, it was a really cool model that I remembered doing a great job with, but now that I've looked at the model, realized that I didn't. Anyway, I tried to recreate it, so I searched eBay and found that it was very hard to locate one that was complete and not started. So I actually bought 3 in various states of completion and distress. And a couple of streams ago, I opened them up and found that it's quite likely that I'll be able to get one complete model out of the combination of those 3 sets. There's one that looks, it's not been started, and just a few little parts have been painted very poorly, of course. Another one, the parts were not painted, but they were glued. The construction had started. And I'm not sure what they used as cement, but it seems that I can take some of them apart. And I'm not sure if all the parts there are there, but through that and a combination of a reissue that came out later of a slightly modified, but otherwise mostly the same model, you should be able to get the one completed. So it's something I wanted to do, and I've been given permission by the other members of Dyson Dungeons to take 1 stream a week, at least on an experimental basis, 1 stream a week to work on the submarine. So on Wednesdays, so the live stream on Wednesday with the YouTube posting on Friday, I'll be pulling out those models and starting to work on them. The first task is going to be finding parts. And this is this is going to just take forever. I'll just warn you now. Starts at the front and the top, and the conning tower, the periscopes and things, and the forward torpedo room. Those are the things that are done first. The first task will be to identify, clean up as necessary, either because removing paint or glue or something, all of the parts that go into the forward torpedo room and the conning tower. Depending on how that goes, how much time it takes, I might move on to like the next section, which is the one behind. But I discovered when I opened I'm waiting for the paint to dry. We're watching paint dry here, so that this gets dry enough that I can just do the final step of dolloping the wash on it. What I discovered was that there's a huge amount of detail on the model that I don't remember as a kid, and is definitely ignored by people who started these things. So you get like this bulkhead, right? The bulkhead between the forward torpedo room and the rest of it, or the bulkhead in the front of the torpedo room that has the torpedo tube hatches on it. Well, the instructions are painted green. And the whole thing, and all the detail is just washed out. The torpedo tube doors, the control panels, some of the piping and the cable, which are actually printed onto the bulkheads, just green. And on the back bulkhead, there's these fire extinguishers and a little arrow points to them and says red. And that's the only detail on the whole thing. The whole thing otherwise is covered with a bunch of other stuff. The control room has these control panels that says paint them tan. Well, they've got all sorts of little dials and buttons and indicators on them. So, you know, you just paint over them and you can't see it anymore. So I'm going to take the time, since I've got this little bitty brush now, and I will be ordering a few more of these because this one is somehow or other just disintegrating on me. I think I should get I wonder if they sell them like quantity discount. I don't know. I'll find out. I'll be taking the time to paint all of that detail in. And there aren't any color guides, so I don't know. I'll just be making stuff up, I guess, as necessary to finish the sub. But finding the parts is the first part, because you can't build it without that. Can't get started without the parts. So that's what I'll be doing on Wednesday, is getting the parts for at least 2, possibly 3 of the sections. And then I will prime them between one Wednesday and the next and start painting all the detail in and assembling the submarine. And if you viewers decide that really sucks and you don't want to see any more of it, please let us know on social media or in the comments section that you really are not interested. And then I will build it off stream and paint more minifigs, because the rosin printer has been churning away and producing probably another set. This was a set of 10. I'm only doing 9 of the 10. That's why I had 7 of 9. Yeah, churning away, and there'll be more of these. So anyway, that's the experiment. Wednesdays are going to become Vintage Submarine Day. That'll show up on YouTube on Fridays. And if you like it, I'll continue. If you really, really like it, maybe I'll do like 2 streams one week and one the next, because I want to keep painting these because of the DnD theme. And if you don't like it at all, stop. But that's why it's important to let me know. But Ryan, thank you. And yes, we are actually hoping at some point to be able to sell these sets. They're like super premium sets, right? Because they're, I mean, if they're printed and primed, that's one thing. But if they're all hand painted, you know, the details like the operating doors and stuff, we think that that's something that's not readily available. So what I'm doing here, the last step in finishing 8 of 9, is I am just dabbing, and I am literally dabbing some brown wash on the base, putting quite a lot of it on, and intentionally making it uneven, dappling kind of, because I want it to break up the monotone of the base coat. The puddle. And as you can see, you know, here, you can see the difference in the color, but it's not, it's just, it's a pretty subtle. It's not a huge change in the appearance. Yep, I'm creating bubbles. Yay. I want puddles, not bubbles. So I will dab less forcefully. I'm done with this. I'm going to be taking that break, and I'm going to be putting a bunch of paints away and pulling a bunch of paints out It'll be, my breaks usually last about 20 to 25 minutes because I like to go up and check email and determine the path of the latest winter storm, because there's always a winter storm on streaming day. At least there has been for the last 3 weeks. And then I'm going to come down after I pick those colors, and we're going to paint 9 of 9. And I won't do the whole 7 of 9 thing anymore. I'm done with that. Yeah, I'm gonna let that dry. And then there's this one. This one is obviously a fire caster because it's got flames growing out of its hand. A spell book there because they haven't memorized their spells yet. You have to consult the book. So I'm going to do this in various shades of red and orange and maybe a little yellow. Yeah, so I need to pick out a bunch of different colors that might fit the bill. Those colors are all there. The cool thing. This was created by Alexis. These are TLA spools, and she created these holders that go into them. This one's good because you can see that it's 2 pieces. So you can put one in on either side and cement them together in between. And this one is specifically designed to hold Vallejo colors. And like that. It rotates for easy access. Pretty neat, huh? You can come, this is an earlier version, plain. This one comes fancy. It's got these triangular divots. Anyway, I need to put a whole bunch of paints back in these holes and pull out some paints like these reds for the rest of the stream. And this figure gets painted fiery. So thanks for joining so far. Please feel free, if you can, to become a subscriber, be a follower. Any support you can give us is most welcome. Watch our Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Thank you for the follow. Thank you so much. And yeah, I need to take a break and clean up this mess. Yeah, see how I very carefully just piled up all of the colors haphazardly in the background there. I have to clean up that mess and get out the colors that I want for this other figure, which are almost none of those. So, yeah, break will be starting, and I will be resuming sometime before 12:30. I can promise that. With this, and this will look very different from this because this color palette will give way to fiery colors, not woodsy colors. So thanks so far. Stay with us and rejoin us when break is over in about 20 to 25 minutes. See you then. Well, I'm feeling sufficiently broken, so now I'm back. Right. And having completed this one, which is a compatriot of this one, the set of 9 that, oh, my toothpick blade broke. I have to redo that. I wonder, okay, well, that's just glued on, so I'll get out the epoxy and put it back on. So other than fixing the broken blade, that's sad. Sad. I'm done with that. And what I'm going to be doing next is this Fire Mage. And as I promised, I'm going to do it in fire colors. So these are the colors I picked out so far. That's for the base. Okay. Those are 4 metallics that I might select from to do like the belt buckle and some of these things. There's a couple of metallic highlights, and I was thinking maybe gold. Definitely not the gunmetal. It could be brass, copper, or gold. We'll see. And I might do these little buckles on the shirt in a metallic as well. The copper is a really pretty color. It might go well with some of these oranges and reds. Yeah, and the ivory, this is for the book. This is for the skin. This is in case I need to just highlight something in black. And I said I'd like to narrow it down to no more than 5 colors. So I've got these reds and oranges and yellows. Definitely going to use the scarlet red. That's a really nice, deep, dark red. Color chart. This is our highly sophisticated splish paint out on a piece of paper color chart. This amaranth red is a little orangey. It turns out to look more orange than you would think. I might pick that. I'm not sure if I do any yellows. They're going to be just like a really small highlight. Like the sun yellow might be a good color for that. As far as oranges go, both the clear orange, the light orange might be better. It might show better in combination with the reds. On the other hand, yeah, I think when I did the flames, these flames, I used this orange fire, which has a little gloss to it, but I'm not really wanting the gloss. When the light orange should do. So I've got the light orange, the scarlet red, the amaranth, which kind of comes in between, a little bit of yellow highlighting. This dark vermilion goes kind of between the 2 red colors. I might do that. Flat red is really dark. We'll skip that. We'll skip the light yellow. We'll keep the clear orange around as a possibility. So it's pretty much these colors, the oranges, reds and oranges that I'm going to go with. And I'm going to use the light sun yellow as a highlight. Like I might, for example, do the inside of the cloak in that bright yellow. Okay. And then I'm going to use probably, I need to do its hair. It needs to have red hair. So maybe use that orange fire. Which, did I bring it out? No, I didn't even bring it out. The orange fire is kind of glossy. I think I'm going to use that for the hair. It's none of the rest of these look like really good hair colors. The light orange, not really. The orange fire, though, I think would be good. I'm going to see if I can find that. Sorry. Oh, ready and prepared. But no. Okay, hair color. I'm going to use the yellow on the inside of the cloak just to like be brighter. I'm going to put the pants and the shirt like I did with the leather on the other guys, this leather and that leather. So a color for the pants and the sleeves, color for the pants to go up for the tunic, another color for the cloak. The cloak has two parts. There's a cloak and a cowl. So I might do, the scarlet red. I might do the vermilion for the boots, just cause. Or maybe the amaranth. It's kind of an orangey color. I want to save these orangey colors for the cloak. And I'm going to use vermilion and scarlet red for the pants and the sleeves. So these will be kind of the cloak colors. It's going to be maybe like amaranth and light orange. It might look scuzzy, I don't know. And I'm going to use the vermilion for the pants and the sleeves and the scarlet red for the undershirt. And then either copper or brass for those bits. There's these pouches on the utility belt. So I might make the utility belt just you can hardly see little bits of it. I might just do that black. Okay, and then we'll see how that goes. So let me take these off so I can see up close. Remember what I'm doing with these different colors. But first, there's always a but first. Hot. Well, they're not really hot. Okay, they're fresh off of the rosin printer are 8 more figures, which will give me plenty to do next week, Monday and Friday, reminding everybody that I probably am going to be working on the submarine. I'm going to be trying a submarine thing on Wednesday. So we've got, I mean, some of these are pretty cool. There's another one of these warrior types with the helm and the plate armor. We've got definitely barbarian-ish. There's a little bit of a flaw in the mold there. Get the X-Acto knife and clean it off if I can remember. This is a very bent sword. See what we can do about that. They always have all these pouches on them. Okay, and this reminds me a lot of this guy. There's a little bits of it that are reminiscent in that, like the scabbard has a dagger on it. So we've got something that we have to fix that sword. Oh, what else have we got? Okay, that's interesting. An archer and a mace. So this looks fairly simple in terms of the clothing. Okay, and we'll try to keep it simple. But there's enough detail on it, like the fletches on the arrows, that kind of thing. That's cool. We have a charge forward kind of figure. Leather armor, lightly armored. Basically just a sword. Ooh, this guy is in the ninja family. Okay, got a mask on. Got a couple of stabby blades. Looks very roguey. So this one's going to be definitely roguish. Might be a partner with this one. This one also is dual wielding daggers, but the blade of this, no, didn't break off. It's backward. Okay, so you got a forward, here, put it on camera, forward pointing one and a backward pointing one. So these also wearing a mask. So I'm going to make sure these two guys go together. They're going to be kind of dark and cloaky, a combination of like the cultists and the these guys. These are both archers with maces, so they go together. Generally, like there's a male and female figure of each one, so this is a pair. This is a pair. Keep those together. And let's see. This is the warrior. Yeah, the warrior with the helms and the very big swords. They don't have a scabbard for their swords. Sorry. I'm just bringing this back this way. They don't have scabbards for their swords, so they have to carry them all the time. That can get pretty tiring. You know, not being able to put your swords away while you're walking. Always walking around swinging your swords. So those are these two guys. And then, yeah, it looks like these guys go together. They're kind of barbarianish looking folks. Yelling, yes, one of them always has to be yelling. Clenched fist in one hand and a wavy sword on the other. There we go. So those need to be primed over the weekend, and then I'll be working on one of these sets. I'm not sure which one. I'll pick one on Monday. Yeah, there's that. So let's see. What I've done with these other figures is I started with their hands and face. So I'm going to do that this time too, just to get those colors out there. I've got the book binding, belt, the inside of the cloak probably. So I'm going to do the face, and then I might go ahead and do the hair after that dries. I'm just thinking about the order in which I'm going to do these, because I want to get them, you know, so that wet paint doesn't touch wet paint. So I'm going to do the hands and the face. Okay. Then I'm going to get the black paint out, just little bits of black, to do the utility belt. A little bit that shows there and there and there. Just tiny little bits, like in between here, maybe. Just little bits just to get that out of the way. And back of the book, what should I don't know. It isn't really ever going to show, so I could just pick any color I want later. So those tiny bits of black, basically just so that you can see it's there. And if I did it in one of the reds or oranges or yellows, you wouldn't really see it that much. Then the inside of the cloak, I'm going to do in the sun yellow, and that'll be the only really yellow part of this whole thing. And then I'm going to do the said vermilion on the pants and those guys. And then I'm going to use the scarlet red on the shirt and the boots. And then these orangish colors will go on the back of the cape. Anyway, I'm going to kind of do those in orders. The orders not touching each other terribly much. Let's see how that goes. Here. Okay. So yeah, now we have 8 more figures to paint, and that will carry me through. Usually I get like 1.5 done in the stream. That should carry me through a couple, like 3 weeks maybe, if I devote one stream a week to the submarine. Okay, so this was kind of funny. Is that when I had put the blade on, as it was pointed out to me, I put it on backward, and I was told not to fix it because it was kind of funny. This could be one of those inept guys. You know, if you'd watched our stream, we have actually run into some bands of enemies, and they were so inept that pretty much they just smashed into the wall. Literally, the DM said, "Oh, they rolled so badly that they hit the wall behind you or to your side." So this gives me an opportunity to put the blade right side out. But anyways, it isn't that much fun to attach it. I have to mix up. I could use super glue, but if I don't get the blade on just perfectly the very first time, it'll grab, and that's a mess. So I used 5-minute epoxy, and I let it set for 4 minutes until it's really very close to being done, but still sticky. Put it on there and hold it for 2 minutes. And in the past, that has actually worked. It worked on the dual wielding knife keep wielder that I did once, and it worked on this the first time I attached the blade. Let's see if we can continue the lucky streak. Let's see. I want this close. And yeah, start with the face here. Paint a little bit further than I need to because the hair kind of swoops over it. I want to make sure that the skin color doesn't leave gaps. I know. It's just, they all are looking alike, but this is the only paint that I've got that I've found that has a flesh tone at all. And it's very Caucasian. And I apologize for that, but there isn't, I guess he wouldn't be surprised. There aren't really good flesh tones on Caucasian figures. It's possible to mix some custom colors, and actually I might try that on some of the others. I think it might be fun to do like these more heroic ones, you know. If I can mix up a color that is tolerable. Just kind of stuck with this. That's why it's sometimes easier just to paint non-human figures, you know, like goblins. Well, goblin green, right? They make goblin green, and it looks pretty goblin-y, and that works. Humans. Since I like to complain about the weather, it looks like the major part of the winter storm is missing us this time. Seems to be tracking largely to our south. We're probably still going to catch the edge of it, but not until later tonight. And we are going to be getting more in the, like they were predicting, somewhere between 1 and 8 inches of snow, because they had no idea where the storm track was going to go, or whether it would be rain or snow when it did track, if it did track in our area. So it looks like it's going to be more in the 1 to 2 inches and coming later tonight. And it should be cold enough, if it hits later, that it would not be that slushy, almost impossible to move kind of snow that we got a few storms ago. Now this figure is holding a flame. And the request has been, and I'm going to give a go. We'll see if that works. That since this fire mage is going to be all dressed in oranges and reds, that the flame actually be a blue flame. That does happen. Contrast, so you can see it, right? And I'm going to, right near the end, only the last thing, is paint the flame blue. As such, we can say, we can make up a story about this, okay? The flame is blue because although he looks very intent, I mean, they look very intent, you know, like, I'm a really good fire mage. They might not be. And they're trying to conjure up a typical yellowy, orangey fireball kind of flame and just failed. That could be, in which case I would want the book to represent standard flamey colors. Or it could be that they are, in fact, a very accomplished fire mage and are attempting something new, like ice fire, right? Because, so for example, if this fire mage had been along with us in our campaign, they would have experienced running into, as we did, some reanimated creatures, reanimated people, who were resistant to fire. In fact, fire kind of healed them, but were susceptible to cold. And so a typical fire mage would have been worse than useless in a fight like that, because their first attempts at shooting flames, you know, flame on, would have actually resulted in the enemy forces becoming stronger. Having learned that lesson, I said, well, don't you think it might be useful if I, as a fire mage, should we run into these kinds of folks again, learned how to cast ice ball, fire flame, ice flames. So this highly accomplished fire mage now, I mean, they're not going to change their wardrobe, right? Just because they're learning a new kind of spell. No, they'd keep their flamey looking standard flamey wardrobe. Very well might be learning how to cast ice flames. Yeah. So we're gonna, that's the backstory here, right? Let's see. I need to paint a color that isn't in contact with that color. Paint the inside of the cape. It's a good thing to do that anyway, because I can't get to it without getting paint on like the sleeves and things. and the legs. So we'll get that color deep down inside there in first. Oh, hi, old blogger. Welcome back. Is it really? Okay. We haven't bought Army Painter paints before. We got Army Painter brushes now. And I bet they come in a set too, don't they? There's probably a set of like 4 to 6 or something different skin tones. Now that we are painting so many minifigs that are humanoid, before that I had like a goblin army. I had a dozen little goblin guys. And so that was easy enough. Just different kind of green goblin colors. But that's good to know. And so I will put our procurement specialists, those who have a really good time looking things up and sending me links of things to buy, in the hunt for the Army Painter skin collection. Because that would really be a good thing to have, because right now everything's really kind of monotonous and not necessarily in a very diverse way. Let's just say that I have not accomplished diversity among the first set of 9 figures. Accomplished monotony, but at least, they don't look too unnatural. Okay, so this yellow paint needs to go. I'm going to use a bigger brush because I know it's going to slop on everything, but I need a deeper reach to get the paint down into all the back nooks and crannies here. This tends to be a pretty transparent paint. There's a gloss to it. And I'm going to end up having to put at least 2 coats on. I'm not sure why the yellows are like that, but the yellows, and almost regardless of what kind I use, Viejo, Tamiya, even others, the yellows especially tend to be, it's like the pigment doesn't mix in with the solvent that well or something. The whites are a little bit like that. Not all of the whites, but some of them. There isn't a lot of this, and it should dry pretty quickly. So I might even be able to use the stuff I already squeezed out. But it's a nice bright yellow color that I think will, show off the other colors in the foreground. Oh, thank you. Alexis or Nicole will pick up on that. But it is something that we're definitely in need of. It's the good skin tones. Those of you who watch the stream realize, of course, that we are amateur painters compared to many people who are streaming painting, who are, just do a whole lot of it, learn techniques and things. I just sort of picked things up as I went along and made things up as I was growing up. Nicole is actually a trained artist and is very good at the techniques, but, hasn't spent a lot of time testing different kinds of paints and things. So we're just kind of learning some of that as we go along. One of the reasons we started a lot with it, to me, is because I was doing military models, and their paints are designed for that. They have some really good colors. On figures like this, they don't show brush marks. They're really pretty decent. And then we discovered that the Viejos, because they were available at our local hobby shop, okay, go with what you can get, and were much cheaper than some of the other brands. that had a similar color range. So we started using those and have been very happy with them. But I know that there's other brands out there that are also really quite good and maybe, give us options that we don't have otherwise. Okay, now I'm going to let that set and dry. And we're definitely putting a second coat on a little later. Scheme of things, what will I do next? I'm going to paint their hair. They have this nice swoopy hair coming down here, little points around, and do that first because I want to get underneath here, and then I'll be painting up to it later. The hair goes all the way down, quite a head of what will turn out to be, well, you'll see it. Not natural looking hair, but flamey anyway. Remember what I'm doing. Yeah, so the yellow on the inside, the rest of the cape is going to be orange and amaranth red. Probably do orange here and then the amaranth up on top. Because I want the darker to go against the hair. And then the light orange, I'm going to use a gray wash on it, just like a neutral gray, just to do the shadowing. And then I've got these two darker colors, dark vermilion, which I'm going to be using on the pants and the sleeves. And then the scarlet red, which we've used a lot, which I'm going to use on the shirt and the boots. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the pouches yet. I'll have to decide. I think I'm either going to use brass or copper. Copper is really a nice color on the belt buckle and these things here. And the pouches, I'm not sure yet. I'm just going to do a little bit of black. I'm going to just do that right now. What am I doing with the black? There's a tiny little bit of a utility belt to which the pouches are attached. And if I want that to not just disappear, I'm just going to put a little bit of black paint on it, if for no other reason than to be able to see it, to see that it's there. And it separates, in parts here, parts back here, that aren't part of the pouches. It separates the shirts and the pants. And paint right over the belt buckle. And we'll just touch that with color later. I'm even going to put a little bit in between the bags here. And this will be something that you won't even notice probably later. Maybe along the top. It'll help define the difference between the two colors. It's like the way the yellow paint works. I'm going to have to paint the black over again back there, but yeah, at least that's where it's going. And this is Orange Fire. This is also one of those sort of translucent paints that might need two coats. And it has a little gloss to it, like the yellow does. But that's okay. It's on the hair. And I think I'm going to end up using that gray wash, the neutral gray wash on the hair as well, in an effort to bring out a little bit of the strands of the hair, giving this a really good mix. It has a part of what might be happening is the pigments on. There we go. So there's that. I use this on the flames that I showed you earlier. Here are these things. This is the orange color. That's the yellow. That's the cape. 2 coats of that, and then I base coated it in the yellow, and then the orange, and then there's a red, the bright red color that goes on there. But I'm not going to use that shiny red on this anywhere. Gummed together the bristles on this brush. There we go. Now let's see what we can do with the hair here. Again, this is another one of those things that will need multiple coats probably. Straight off. From the other side. And I want this to go down a little over the edge. So I'm deliberately painting beyond the limits of the hair so that when I paint up to it, with the base coat on the other color, I'm not ending up leaving a gap. Yeah, this is a pretty decent hair color. I think it'll look all right, especially with a little gloss to it. And it will look better after it is recoated. To leave the ear not orange. Try to identify where the location of the ear is. So, old bogger, I understand that I am getting a gift from other members of Dyson Dungeons. They are sending to me a pair of magnifying goggles. They jumped on your link. Thank you for that. And those should be arriving maybe in time for one of the streams next week. And we'll put them on and yeah, see how it goes. Don't like my trifocals anyway. I'll just put them on over my face. The viewers probably won't miss that terribly much. And yeah, with something like this, I'm sure it will help a lot. Just trying to get the little bit of hair that comes up over the front of the face, like here. So there. And I did that by only getting a whole bunch of paint on my little finger that I was using to hold the back of the head steady. Okay. That needs to dry, and then we'll put a second coat on. Most of these other colors, the light orange is another one of those colors that doesn't cover that well. But a lot of this, if I have to put a second coat on, it's just I put a second coat on. And now I'm going to still here. I need to squeeze up this sun yellow. Put a second coat, and who knows, maybe even a third coat of yellow on the back of the cape here. We'll just keep throwing yellow paint at this until it stays yellow and doesn't look too scabby. It's not too bad right now. Well, what happens is that it's showing the folds of the cape. It's significantly showing the folds of the cape, and maybe that's just something I will like after it dries. We will see. So I'm just gonna, maybe I'll lay it down here, and I'm gonna just let it kind of puddle around. And then I would like, just so that the paint is thicker, sort of anyway, a little bit dramatic look. I'm gonna let that dry and just say, hey, that looks good enough for me. Do that. It's the head's still a little sticky. So I give that a couple of seconds while I ponder what color to paint those pouches. I don't need a whole lot of different colors. Actually, I need maybe 2 different colors. One for this one. No, these 2 are twin pouches. So those 2 the same color, and then do that one back there a different color. So the really nice black in between those pouches disappeared and turned into yellow. Scarlet red up here and down there, and vermilion. I kind of want them to show, but I don't want to. I've got I've got this really dark kind of blackish red that I've used occasionally. I put it away because I wasn't sure I was going to use it. It's really this kind of dark brown red color. I might pull that out for one of the pouches. And then the other one I could just paint flat red, because it's going to be, it'll be up against the vermilion. But it's going to be way in the background. Back here. So I'll just paint that flat red. I've got flat red out, so I'll use that later. But I'm going to go out and dig up the dark red. And in fact, I might use the same color on the back of the book. It doesn't really show very much, and I just want it to be dark, so I might just do that. do those fairly soon. I'm going to repaint the head now. Is this orange still good? Yep. We're going to put the second coat of hair color on. And we'll see. I don't know. I might not need to use the gray wash on it. It's showing enough variation that maybe it'll be okay. Yeah, so the hair's kind of looking okay. Just taking a look at the cowl. Looks like this shirt goes, there's the cape here, and there's a cowl over that. And it looks, as I rotate this, that like the undershirt goes around here, and then the cowl doesn't quite come up to the edge. To paint the shirt first. Get the paint in there, and then I'll very carefully do the cowl color later. And the shirt is going to be the scarlet red color. And the cowl is going to be, I believe, amaranth red. Let's see here. Just trying to decide what to paint next. The inside of the cloak isn't quite dry, and the arms touch the cloak, as do the pants, which is like most of what's left. Okay. Yeah. So vermilion, the arms and the pants are what touch it the most. And the shirts and the boots, shirt really doesn't touch it anywhere. So I'm gonna do that. And the shirt is going to be the scarlet, and the boots are the scarlet red color. We use this color a lot. This was actually one of the very first colors that we ended up using from the Viejo color set. And we used it for stonework. The dwarves in Alexis's world. There were ancient dwarven ruins that were in red, made out of red granite. And this was the color that we used. That was the base color for that stonework. So we painted it this nice base dark red color. And then the only wash we had on hand was black. And so that became the wash color. And that has now become the standard for Dwarven runes is scarlet red with either a black or a dark gray wash. We haven't been in Dwarven runes in a long time. There are rumors of them existing in various places throughout the world, but we haven't come across any. We spent a good deal of time early in our campaign in Dwarven runes. That's where we first found our fervent tech. Actually, it wasn't fervent tech, it was just a big fervent crystal. And that's how we became familiar with fervent stuff. We became familiar with the existence of it anyway. The Dwarven runes were one of the crystals was deep in one of the caverns. It was very glowy. Pretty impressive. Okay, so we're just trying to get the paint in the right spots. There's little spots like on the collar there that to push the paint onto. Okay, that worked all right. There's maybe another little spot under there, but I really can't get to it. So the rest of this is not very sensitive. There aren't any contact points other than the belt down below here. So I'm going to paint down to that and try to get that color, get the paint in there. Okay. It would make that very difficult. So the little brush here is, for the most part, not fine detail, but just reaching. It's reaching in. It's kind of the same thing here. And this side is reaching in far enough to get kind of the back of the shirt colored in without it getting all over the yellow. I'm going to not get it all over the yellow because I don't want to reach in with the yellow again. The shirt goes pretty well with its hair color. Oh, completely off screen. Sorry about that. Yeah, as I brought it down, I knew that would happen. Knew it. Is that bringing the camera down closer to pick up the detail a little better? This meant that the whole piece of work would wander off screen. And I did it. I did it to the viewers there. You couldn't see what I was doing at all because it was over here. This probably would work better. I moved my little stool over. totally hidden by the camera just as well. See where the top of the belt buckle is. So I'll paint up to it, and it's a ridge, it's raised, so where the brush meets resistance, that must be where it is. Okay. So there's the shirt. These buckles on the shirt are going to be either copper or brass. I have to decide which. We have this really nice bronze color too, but it's pretty dark. And I think we want the metallic to show. Copper seems more in tune with how the color palette. Okay, so I think I might do that. Copper on the belt buckle, as well as these little connector things. That looks really sloppy there, but that will disappear when I paint the pants. I promise. I'm going to use a bigger brush on the boots, and I need to squeeze out a little more paint. Like these are the kind of boots that have like a fold over the top. It looks like there's kind of like spats on them too. I want to make the whole boot this color because I like this color and I just don't want it to be just like the little shoe part. Okay. So I'll put a gray wash on this later, and it won't show very much, but it might pick up some of the folds in the boots just so, it doesn't look monochrome and gets lost. It's the same color wash I will probably use this. I'm probably just going to wash this whole thing and most of it in the gray. Again, not to do much of a color change or even to darken it very much because it's really transparent, but just to try to pick up the texture. I used it, of all places, on the car that the Fink Eliminator was smashing. Used it on kind of a dark bluish gray color. And even though the color was kind of dark, it actually worked pretty well, just in terms of getting into the nooks and crannies and crevices. So this looks pretty bright, but it dries to this color. Is I think it's going to show the copper pretty well. And that's what I'm going for there. Okay. Yeah, I better look around, because when I looked at it the first time, I found spots that weren't painted. And I don't want that to be the case. Just look at it. There's a spot right there that needs paint on it. It needs the red paint. This brush is way too big. To the bitty brush. I don't know if you can see it, but right there, at the top of the collar and underneath the hair. Look at it from this angle. You can see that it needs red paint. And now it has red paint. A tiny touch of black, because I got yellow where I needed black. It's just the separation between these two pouches. There's a spot of yellow there, and I want to black that out. And then I'm going to paint the pouches. And then I think I will do the cowl. I'm doing the pouches, the one in the back. I'm just doing this flat red color. It's not going to look terribly much different from anything else. It'll show up against the dark vermilion. So it's darker and flatter than that. And then the other two I'm going to do in a really dark blackish red. And it'll lose some of the detail in the pouches. But what I'm really trying to do is just paint what color you can see. Getting too weird. And I'm going to use that same color for these pouches as the back of the book. So I'll be able to paint that at the same time. So there's this pouch back here that is mostly splotched with yellow paint. And I'm going to paint this red. And I'm painting it this red so that it is red, but not the same red as all of the other reds. Putting lots of different reds on this fire mage. Let's see. So I'm going to paint these other pouches, then I'm going to paint the buckle and these other things and let that dry, because if I need to do touch up, I want to just go ahead and do that right away. It would be touch up either with the black or with this scarlet red. I need to find a really dark red color that I put away. Very carefully put away because I didn't think I'd be using it. But now I want it. But here I am looking for paint. Yay, found it. And this color is going on those pouches and on the binding, the cover of the book, which no one will ever see. Which is too bad, because the print on this is really great. I mean, the finger detail, the thumb holding the book, is is really good. And the model has a lot of, look at the face. The face has a lot of detail. These things come out really pretty amazingly well. And if they were being put together as a display, as display models, a skilled painter could really have an amazing time picking up all the little detail. But they're not. These are for gameplay, and I'm not a skilled painter. So there, none of that, none of those conditions is true. This is a very dark red. You can see there's still some red in it. So it fits the red palette. But it'll show a different color up against the vermilion of the pants. Once those are vermilioned, these critters have like pouches and belt buckles and all sorts of little things. I need to get Alexis to print some out that are kind of like just in pajamas, right? You know what I mean? There's this nothing interesting about no embellishments. Did I miss? No. Looked like I had missed like an entire part, but that's just the black showing of the belt underneath. Or maybe can't really see. From this angle, it looks like it's painted, and here it looks like it's not. See what it looks like after this is finished and dried. One thing I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to get a couple more of these really fine detail brushes. I had one before that I was using. It was like a 30-year-old brush that I used to use when I was painting War, the original, the very, very first Warhammer figures when they came out. And that brush disintegrated. It just gave up. And then I got these because I complained about it. These as a gift. And yeah, I like them quite a lot. So those are the pouches. You can see they're in the red theme, but slightly different colors. And now, as I look at it from this angle, this down here, I thought, was going to be, I'm going to make sure that that's painted red, because if I'm not sure where the other color is going to go exactly, and I want to make sure that it is not just showing the primer. So there, that helps. And some of it will be covered by the belt buckle and these little latch things, but I couldn't be sure. Since I've got this on my brush, I'm going to look at the boots and the shirt. And I am satisfied. Yay. Let's look at the model. What are we doing? Got like 20 minutes left, so I will not be finishing this today, but I'm getting close. What I will do next is I'm going to paint the cowl. It's going to be the darker of these colors, the amaranth red. And the rest of the cape is actually going to be light orange. And it might take a couple of coats too, we'll see. This one covers pretty well. That's why I'm using it on top, because it has to cover over the color of a couple of other paints. Yeah, I probably should stretch. Stretch out on the sofa when I'm done with this, though. Okay. So this comes in contact with a whole bunch of other colors like the hair and the cape and things. So we'll be a little careful with it. Hopefully, yeah, it'll show. Will it? Okay, I'm just going to test this here and let it dry. Because I'm not sure that it actually will show sufficient contrast with the hair color. I might need to put, the light orange will be even worse. So this I do know gets darker as it dries. And wow, it really, yeah, we thought those druid kind of folks had bad color sense. They got nothing on this, folks. This one. I'm going to say that practically nothing goes with anything else here. The only thing that I think is looking okay are the boots and the hair. This is a cloak. And it's yellow and orange and fire themed. Just say there's no missing this character to the town. It's like, oh, it's an orange and red guy. I'm always disappointed with this amaranth, mainly because when I did the color chart, it looked really quite red. And whenever I've used it, it ends up looking really quite orange. In this case, it's not altogether bad because the rest of the cloak is actually going to be orange. Right there at the end, I caught the brush. So maybe it's not a problem. Okay, it turned out not to really be a problem. I caught the brush on the edge of the flame thing here. I thought I popped it in a little too far. on the red underneath it, but it's like I didn't. Look at it from this side, and maybe the tiniest little touch there. I'll come back and put a little touch of the scarlet red on that. I think I can get at this with this brush without getting it anywhere else. Paint down the cowl here. And I need to get the corner tip of it. I was being too cautious here, I think. And I'm not getting the edge of the cowl. If anything could be said about this, it's, hey, you need a brighter color for your shirt, right? So we're going to liven that up with some copper. Again, and I can't really see where I would put the red paint. The corners of the cowl here. Okay, so what I got left is light orange for the rest of the cape and the dark vermilion for the pants and the sleeves. And I forgot. Okay. I need to go back to that dark red. I forgot the back of the book. So I will. Before trouble defining the thumb here. Make clear that I should go to trouble trying to paint that little space between the thumb and the rest of the hand. So is this paint drying up on me? There it is. The edge of the book, I was tempted to paint this color, but those are supposedly the pages, right? So I'm going to use ivory for that. Edge here. where the pages show. This book is going to be ivory. And I should paint that sooner than later and let this dry. Oh, we're doing about 10 minutes? Okay, so I am not going to be painting the vermilion today, which is just as well. It's a lot of fiddly stuff, you know. It's just going to be that kind of fiddly thing. But what I can do is I can paint the outside of the cloak with the light orange. And if it requires 2 coats, at least I can get the first coat on. It's a good stir. And depending on how long that takes, I might paint the ivory on the pages of the book. Get that done. And I'm going to get kind of fancy, and what I'm going to paint on the book are like a couple of little runes and maybe a little blue flame kind of pointy thing to match the ice fire that this mage is creating, because having just run into a group of reanimated corpses that were immune to and actually healed by fire, this highly advanced mage is learning how to cast ice fire. They were worse than useless in that last battle. Well, that squeezed out. So this will be the last bit that I do. There's not much time left. In fact, I should probably wait until Monday to do this, but I already got the paints shaken. Shaken, not stirred. Yeah, it's going to need a second coat anyway, so that will be something to do on Monday. Maybe even more. This is covering very poorly. Way too thick. Yeah, the problem is the consistency of the paint. I'm not sure. So it doesn't flow evenly. It's kind of okay on a cloak like this because you want it to show the folds. But just in the yellows, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to try to get a coat on here, even though it's not a very good one. And then on Monday, we'll put a second coat on it and hope that improves the look. This is even harder, almost harder to use than the yellow, and that wasn't very, very good. Really, it's either really thick or not applied at all. I'm just going to streak it like this and then put a second coat on, and maybe, I don't know, really sure what to do with this. It's the color I want. You know what? I'm going to try on Let's just try this. This is going to make a difference or not, but it isn't going to hurt. Thinner on it. Again. I'm going to paint that just on here. And you know what? That did not make any difference. It's still here. You can see what's happening. Is it's still uneven. You know, it's just like paper brush marking. It's not altogether bad on this. I'm going to let that dry. And then we'll come back to it on Monday. So let's recap in the last 3 minutes of this stream. Finished this guy, but broke the blade, so I need to glue that back on. That is the companion piece to the one that I had finished on Wednesday. Okay, so what I need to do is mix up a tiniest little drop of epoxy, wait for it to almost but not quite set, and then glue that sword back on. I started the Fire Mage, and the Fire Mage is learning how to cast Ice Fire. There's a backstory to that I have talked about. And when I get back on Monday, I'll be working on the orange of the back of the cloak here, doing what I can to make it look okay. And then using the vermilion paint that I think will flow better. And we'll be finishing, which I'm not going to flip this over because I don't want the paint to go running. It goes on the sleeves and the pants. And when we're done with those base coats, I'm going to paint the book pages and just little details on the book. Some runes, maybe a tiny little bit of flame, and then I'm going to paint the flame, a couple of shades of blue, and probably even use some pearlescent on it. We have these pearlescent paints, which are kind of cool. Is a really pretty green-blue color and a navy color that I will probably, if not use as the base coat, as highlights on the ice flame. And it looks like there's a little bit of orange. There. I'm trying to remember what color I used. I think it was this one. Yeah, just try to fix that. So I'm going to try to work on the cloak again with this light orange color. See if I can get that to work. If not, what I might do is just try a different color and overpaint it. Maybe kind of leave that as a base color underneath and just try to almost, but not quite, dry brush something on. We'll just see how it turns out. Paint the sleeves and the pants, paint the book, do the book detail and the flame detail, do a tiny little bit of washing, and then paint the base, and we'll be done with number 9 of 9s. We'll be doing that on Monday, And after that, I will be taking up one of the new set of 8 that were fresh off the printer. Okay. I'm going to get those primed over the weekend, and I'll be starting on those. And then on Wednesday, I am going to experiment working on the submarine and be asking all of you who are either watching the stream live on Wednesday or watching it on YouTube starting on Friday, do you want to keep watching a reconstitution of a vintage submarine model or not? And if you do, I'll continue doing it on Wednesdays. And if you don't, then I will do it off stream. So thanks everybody for joining in, especially thanks to the raiders and the new followers that we have. Please feel free to support Dice and Dungeons by becoming a subscriber, or if you're feeling very generous, going to patreon.com/diceanddungeons and becoming a Patreon supporter. That would be really appreciated. Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend if these 2 days are in fact your weekend. If not, have a good weekend when you do get your weekend. See everybody on Monday from 10ish until 2ish as we pick up Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Thanks again. See you.